In this episode, I pinch my nips and we talk about how ibuprofen kills the balls.
It destroys my pee-pee.
The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Testicles. Welcome everyone to episode 623 of the Daily Mother Swole, the most muscular swolecast, beercast, broadcast, gaincast, mancast, pumpcast, hugecast, coffeecast, and nipplecast. In the realm, because when I flex, you flex, we all flex our biceps. Welcome everyone to episode 623. Thank you so much for joining me live on Facebook and Instagram, and also, of course, catching the podcast on SoundCloud and iTunes. So a little silent clap for those of you that are listening to the podcast, and I appreciate all the ear holes and the eye holes that are getting destroyed by the knowledge nukes, and today is going to be extra. It's going to be extra, because that's like a term now. We say, oh, that's so extra. This is going to be extra. Papa Swolio is going to be super extra today. It's Flex Friday, and we're going to be talking about what kills the balls. So if you see behind me on the board, I know it's backwards on Facebook Live and Instagram. It's killing the balls. And we're talking about ibuprofen today, which is a popular painkiller and anti-inflammatory. And a lot of you take ibuprofen. And there's a new study that came out. And of course, it's going to get a lot of, there's going to be a lot of speculation that surrounds it. I just want to go over that in case you are unaware. We can have a little discussion because a lot of you take things like Tylenol, take NSAIDs and stuff like that. So this is an important piece of research that has come out and obviously is going to require some more feedback and some more testing. So you might have seen this in the news. You might have seen this on the interwebs. And I saw this a couple days ago. And then a good friend of mine sent me the actual research paper and I looked over it. And I'm not going to go through the entire research paper, but I'm going to go over a little bit of the abstract and the summary. And then we can have a little discussion about this because it kind of goes along with what we're already talking about. And I'll set the framework for this in a moment. Let me say hi to the family. So if you're listening to the podcast, remember you can catch every episode, the podcast on SoundCloud and iTunes. So make sure you go to SoundCloud and iTunes, type in Daily Swole, type in Swolenormous and find Papa Swole O. I usually post when the last or the most recent podcast goes live on my Instagram stories and Snapchat. So you can follow me there as well. And all the episodes are uploaded in HD on YouTube, and they're searchable on YouTube, and they're here on Facebook as well. So Instagram, IG, Facebook, what up? So we got Tyler Hebert, and the military loves giving out ibuprofen for everything. Yeah, we're going to talk about this, and I really want to get into what your personal experience is with painkillers and with ibuprofen in particular. So Nick is here, Swole Train. What up, Nick? We're talking about ibuprofen. So he's the one that passed off the study to me, and I was looking through it. I mean, it's crazy stuff, and it's interesting how these things come about. It's always going to be considered alternative news. It's always going to be considered alternative news until there's like tons of studies and tons of research, and we should have known. Yeah, everyone's always skeptical, not to mention it's a huge industry, but we'll rage about that in a little bit. So the last couple days, we've been talking about inflammatory foods, we've been talking about foods that can cause you pain, foods that can cause inflammation. And now we're talking about something that causes the reduction of inflammation that we take for inflammation. You have a headache, you have a joint pain, you pull the muscle, you have a sprain, you take ibuprofen, Advil, one of those types, and you have less inflammation and it helps reabsorb the swelling, blah, blah, blah. You know what it does. You all know what ibuprofen does. It's an anti-inflammatory, and you've probably taken it before. So let's float some hearts or some comments. What's your experience with Advil? What is it? Is Advil, Motrin, ibuprofen, generic? So what's your experience personally with ibuprofen? Have you taken it? Do you currently take it? Is there anyone here that takes it every day? Is there anyone here that takes it every day? Now, let me explain and let me preface what this study is and what this study means and what it means, because this is the same reason why you cannot really put too much stock all the time in supplement studies, any kind of study. All a study is an organized approach to testing some variables. So one study does not prove anything. One study, a fact does not prove. It's the beginning. It might raise some concerns, which then warrants further testing, and then further testing with not just males, but females, and not just 20 to 30-year-olds, but 30 to 40-year-olds, and blah, blah, blah. And that's why there are many, many, many studies around the same topic, because you have to try different variables and different people in different stages of their lives and different cultures. White males are different than African American males, are different than Asian males. I mean, this on a genetic basis could lead to different outcomes. So this is going to hopefully, I would think, I mean, it depends on how much it gets suppressed, will lead to further study. So a little bit of history on ibuprofen. When ibuprofen was created, I mean, I don't have that in front of me, but in like the 60s, I believe it was, it got really popular and became over the counter in the late 80s. But it was originally prescription only. And a lot of what you're aware of probably with ibuprofen and these over the counters is people talk about the ulcers all the time, right? People talk about the ulcers all the time, or what it could do to your stomach. And what the reason for that is that ibuprofen inhibits the release of the secretions membrane in the stomach, and then it could lead to ulcers and damage in the stomach lining and things like that. So ibuprofen and those things inhibit the release of the membrane and that mucous membrane in the cells in the stomach that can lead in the intestines. And what really happens with ibuprofen, one of the reasons why it's so dangerous from our standpoint, from a nutrition standpoint, is that it obliterates the gut biome when it gets to the small intestine. So what was not determined originally, and it was, supposed that, okay, it does damage to the stomach, it actually does damage to the intestinal lining. It actually does damage later than just the stomach. So what goes around in the verbiage, like, oh, it does damage to the stomach, it's actually in the intestines where most of the damage takes place. And that's usually an unseen problem because the scopes and the technology for all these years was not able to get all the way down into the small intestines. It was only in the stomach. And then what we're finding out now is that ibuprofen and these anti-inflammatories cause a lot of fucking damage into the small intestines. And the reason why that's important for us is I've been talking about leaky gut. We've been talking about foods that cause leaky gut and damage the intestines. And you might be, oh, I'm eating good, but then you have pain and you take ibuprofen and it's actually causing you a lot of problems. And we take it like there's no regulation. It's over the counter. It's over the counter. Think of ibuprofen. We think of it as safe. We think of these things that are found in Walgreens and CVS. Oh, it's over the counter. It must be safe. Not true. That could not be farther from the truth. These things cause a lot of damage and are very, very risky for us. But because it's legal for us to purchase it, we just take it like it's nothing. Oh, I have pain. Let me take this. You're causing more problems. And this study, I'm going to get into it right now. So let me see. I only take it when I'm hungover. Let's see. They feed me every day for a time. And this is really especially important for those of you that are athletes, or like someone said in the military, that are taking ibuprofen like it's candy. So let's get into this study. And this study, and you see behind me, it says it kills zip bottles. That's just a little bit of a funny approach to it, but it's serious. So there's a study that was done, and it's linking ibuprofen to male infertility. I'm going to repeat that one more time for those of you that are like, what the fuck? Are you serious? Linking ibuprofen to male infertility, like not being able to produce testosterone or semen, like like being infertile, infertility. And this research was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. And this is done in, I believe it was done in France. There's a lot of Dutch names on the work, and French. I believe it was done either in France or in Copenhagen. And let me just read through the study, the summary, and then we'll have a discussion on it, because this is not an answer. I'm not here. This is kind of like reporting the news. And if you all like this style of the Daily Swole, bringing up, current events and studies and having these discussions, I'm more than willing to do this more often. This is just something that I know is very important because most of you, and float some hearts or actually drop a comment, do you have ibuprofen in your medicine cabinet? Do you have, there's a bunch of in mine, different bottles from different times. I haven't taken it in months or years. I mean, I don't remember the last time I've taken ibuprofen, but I have some. So, most of you have it. You have kids and you've given it to your children. And so let me read through the study. And then, it was University of Copenhagen. Okay, that makes sense because I'm like, everyone seems like to be from Copenhagen. And then I saw France, and because I did hear about this study before I saw the actual paperwork. So let's get into it. 31 athletic white men aged 18 to 35. 31 white men aged 18 to 35 were randomized to receive ibuprofen. So that they received 600 milligrams twice daily. So I don't know how much you take. See, I don't know. You take it for your joints. I see some people ate Motrin like Skittles, still do. Well, this is going to change your opinions on this. 31 white men, 18 to 35, athletic white men, took 600 milligrams twice daily, or they took a placebo for 6 weeks. So they did this for 6 weeks. And what a placebo means, for those of you that might not be aware, a placebo is some of these men took pills that were nothing, probably cornstarch or something that was not ibuprofen. And they do this for psychological reasons. So people don't act a certain way. So the mind, which is very powerful, which we've talked about, doesn't get in the way of the actual reading. So it's accurate. So no one, these men, did not know whether they were getting real ibuprofen or they were just getting placebo pills. So the results are more accurate because that doesn't get in the way. Levels of luteinizing hormone were significantly increased, and free testosterone was significantly decreased in those that received the ibuprofen. So the testers know who got the ibuprofen and who didn't, of course. Okay. So free testosterone was significantly decreased. The effects were seen, those decreases in testosterone were seen as early as 14 days after starting taking ibuprofen. 14 days. So the results of this decrease in free testosterone were evident in the testing after 14 days. After 14 days. So 2 weeks, they're already seeing decreases in free testosterone. Okay. They also didn't do this on just live men. They used donated human testes from prostate cancer patients and human steroidogenic cells that showed suppression of the endocrine capabilities following exposure to ibuprofen. So doing this in test tubes and petri dishes, for example, like theoretically, I'm not sure exactly how they actually tested. That's not important, but they tested on actual cells and then would monitor the reactions of the cells and the endocrine capabilities. What that means is endocrine is the hormone system. So the messaging system of the body, it obviously in these actual tissues were damaged. The researchers concluded, quote, "Our data demonstrate that ibuprofen alters the endocrine system via selective transcriptional repression," you don't have to know what that is, "in the human testes, thereby inducing compensated hypogonadism." And what hypo means, hypo is the prefix for a decrease. So if you're like hypoglycemic, that means your sugar drops. Hyperglycemic, there's too much sugar. So hypogonadism is the decrease in the production of free testosterone, pretty much what we're discussing. Okay, so that's just the technicalities. I just want to make sure I give you the words the way they're written. Okay, one thing that was also in the summary that I was given with this article is an expert, we'll put quote unquote, from WebMD, and that's the big medical website, emphasizes that the potential health implications of this association are, quote, currently speculative. While another expert says the findings should, quote, give pause for thoughts to sportsmen using ibuprofen routinely for exercise-induced aches and pains. So it definitely exposes a lot of questions about ibuprofen use for injuries. And okay, you worked out and you have, oh, my chest hurts because I had a chest workout, and you're taking ibuprofen. This can severely damage your free testosterone, limiting gains. And not to mention, it could stunt permanently potentially if you take ibuprofen regularly. Now, this is just one test. This is just one finding. Obviously, 31 white men, 18 to 35, were exposed to this test. It doesn't show what it might do to women. It doesn't show what it might do to men 50 to 70. It doesn't show that maybe if they did this with 100,000 white men, maybe that these 30 were the only ones. I mean, there needs to be more testing. And as Nick put over on Instagram, fucking Big Pharma, the reason why this study concerns me is not because of the issue with the free testosterone. What concerns me is the fact that this might not get the light that it deserves. That's why I really feel like I need to put a spotlight on this and other types of research, because how popular do you think the funding is for this type of research? Where is all the money? The money is in the pharmaceutical companies. They don't want this shit coming to light. However, even if this is true, let's assume, just for argument's sake, that everything in this article, in this research, done by scientists at a university, let's say it's absolutely 100% true. Let's say ibuprofen is the devil, it's dangerous, okay? It's not dangerous enough for someone to take it and then die. It's not linked directly enough to cause immediate negative response. You know how long, if this is true, how long it will take for there to be further regulations on ibuprofen? Do you have any idea? You can buy bottles. You can buy crates of ibuprofen. There is nothing stopping you from buying ibuprofen 400 at the store and taking 12 of them every day if you wanted. They put a warning on the back. It would take so long for further regulation to happen. And that's because of the money, that's because of the lobbying, that's because of all the money, the billions and billions and billions of dollars that pharmaceutical companies spend to manipulate governmental policy. And the Food and Drug Administration are a bunch of crooks, literal criminals. And these people are all circle jerking with the lobbyists and with the corporations. And many of the heads of the FDA and vice versa, the CEOs and that run these pharmaceutical companies, they swap back and forth. They're the head of the FDA, and then they go and they run a big pharma company, and then they leave the pharma company and they go and they work for the FDA. It's a scam. It's a scam. And the problem is we're kept in the dark. And luckily there was no big surprise that this study was done in Europe. I mean, they're way beyond us in terms of being in terms of giving a shit about GMOs and giving a shit about these types of things. Like, we're very, very repressed here. So a lot of the studies that will be funded here at universities, like this would not get funding in the United States. This wouldn't get funding in the United States. Why do you think this study wasn't done in the US? Why do you think this wasn't done in the US? Because no one's going to fund this shit. No one's going to fund this shit at like the University of Kansas. No one's going to fund a study like this. Doesn't mean it can't be done, but no one's going to fund this because it's going to hurt a billion. I mean, can you imagine how many billions of dollars? I don't have the stats. Can you imagine how many billions of dollars not just the pharmaceutical companies make, but literally specifically on Motrin, Advil, and ibuprofen? Just on that. Just on ibuprofen, hospitals, prescriptions, Motrin 800. Can you imagine how much money on Motrin and ibuprofen alone? All the different names of ibuprofen, all the different titles, all the different things. Can you imagine how much money is in that one product? So I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Again, this is not conclusive in the sense that this is not an answer. I'm not saying it's bad for you, but I'm also saying that it's very likely very bad for you. I would never recommend anyone taking ibuprofen anyway, but this is just another eye-opener to not just that it's not good for you, but how bad it could possibly be. Infertility in men, those of you that are just joining, just went through a study that was recently released that they did a test giving 600 milligrams of ibuprofen twice a day to 31 athletic. These are healthy men. These are active men. We're not talking about people that have diabetes and gout and that are all banged up and, amputees or, horrifically overweight or anything like that. We're talking about athletic. And athletic is defined as someone who fucking looks athletic, like they're in decent shape. So it's hard to say, but even the fact that it's possible, that you can take ibuprofen at a it's not sub, I would say that's about, what's the limits for ibuprofen, right? Like if you get an injury, I know a lot of people that say, doctors that say, you could take 3 ibuprofen 3 times a day after you get hurt. So that's 600 3 times a day. So that's 1800. This is a reasonable volume of ibuprofen for someone to take. 1200 milligrams a day, 600 twice a day. That's not unheard of. How many of you take 600 twice a day? Stephen P. 2015 on Instagram. After 21 years in the Marines, they used to give it to us for everything. I've heard that. I've heard the military hands it out like Tic Tacs. Just ibuprofen. And it's potentially destroying your testes. It's destroying your free testosterone. It's destroying your body's ability to produce testosterone. So this is something that you have to be aware of. It's not just the nutrition. It's everything. Military doctors prescribe 800. A lot of doctors prescribe 800. You can't get 800 over the counter, but you can get it with a prescription. Anna Gonzalez, I've taken 500 once or twice, depending on pain, sometimes 800 milligrams twice a day. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. But here's the reason. A lot of people take ibuprofen for pain that is related, check this out, that's related to food. So if you're exercising and you're sore and you're taking ibuprofen, you're sore. You're sore because you caused damage. You exercised. You don't need ibuprofen. You need yoga, foam rolling, hydration, proper nutrition, and rest. And you'll heal. Maybe you train too hard. Well, don't do that. Progress appropriately. Periodize your training. And then there's other people that are having issues with inflammation from poor food choices. So you're eating poorly. You're leading to inflammation, joint pain from autoimmune issues and arthritis coming from the food that you're eating and having issues with your food intake. And because you have pain from the food you're consuming, which you don't know about because you never really analyzed it, right? You just follow a diet plan. Then you pop ibuprofen for the pain that your food is causing. So you're causing inflammation and causing damage to your body by eating the wrong food. And then you're taking ibuprofen to mask and to dull the pain from the inflammation that you're causing from the food. So it can easily be a simple fix as eating better and then you don't need the ibuprofen. But it's also being more aware of what you're consuming. It's also being more aware. And I'm almost sorry to bring it up, but I'm not. But I hate to, be the bringer of this kind of news because we want to believe that things that are over the counter, we want to believe that others have our best interest. We want to believe that the government cares about us. The government doesn't care because these companies are making so much fucking money. Money and power run everything. And it's on our backs. It's on our backs. It's on the unsuspecting public. We will read any study. We don't read the fucking studies. When you buy a supplement at GNC or Vitamin Shop and the supplement, all those supplements usually reference a study. Right? When you buy creatine or pre-workout or post-workout or mass gainer, it'll reference some study on the back. They'll put a little asterisk and then it'll reference the study. Do you go and fucking read the study? No, you don't. One, you don't give a shit. 2, you're lazy. Or 3, you don't even know where to find it. Or you wouldn't know how to read a scientific study if you had it in front of you. It's very complicated. There's the abstract. There's, the library of literary research. Like it's tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of pages. Plus there's graphs and p-values and deviations and all that shit from reading it. Like, I don't even like reading them. I like reading the abstracts and stuff. I mean, it's real studies. And, people sponsor studies. Such studies cost money. It takes money and time and manpower. So a lot of these studies that should be going on don't get done. And that's why a lot of this research and a lot of this stuff goes on overseas and goes on in Europe and these other more open-minded places, because we're very, very controlled in the United States. So a lot of the studies that should happen here do not happen because of the money that backs it and the people that have their hands in other people's pockets. So that being unfortunate as it is, luckily we have technology, we have the internet, we have the ability to spread the word and be aware of these things ourselves. We can't control what everyone does, but we can pass the buck along and pass the words along about this. So this is not conclusive. I'm not saying that this does exactly that. I'm just passing on information based on this study. So big stuff. So I'll take a couple comments. Justin, I'm more curious about the test study done on the 18-year-olds. T starts dropping off in your mid to late 20s, but if an 18-year-old is affected, then there's definitely an issue. Well, this is 18 to 35. Yeah, this is it did happen with men in the 18 range. It happened with everyone. Absolutely. My dentist prescribed Tylenol 800 with codeine. Probably never took it though. Yeah, doctors they're taught to. Why do you think doctors are taught to do this? Doctors are taught to prescribe. Doctors are visited. I don't know if any of you know this. I could do a little bit more, another episode on this. Doctors are visited almost daily by pharmaceutical reps pushing their supplements, their drugs every day. Doctors pretty much eat for free every day. Why do you think people in doctors' offices are overweight? Because they're brought like buffets every fucking day from pharmaceutical reps. Whining and dining them and giving them brochures and encouraging them to use their products so they get paid and commissions and stuff like that. That's what's going on. Doctors eat for free. They eat for free. They get delivered food, breakfast, lunch, everything every day if they wanted to, being catered by pharmaceutical companies. This legitimately really happens. Use my drug, prescribe this, hey, you like me, right? Sell my drug so I get commission. That's what happens. So doctors prescribe it. That's what they do. They write a script. That's it. Patients don't feel pain. Everyone gets rubbed off. Everyone gets off. So that's the nitty gritty, and that's episode 623. So thank you so much. Bring free pens and notebooks to hand out. They've decreased the impact of this in some cases. They've you can't court doctors, I think, to the same level as you used to, but it's bad. They're getting a lot of, I think they used to really get like houses and cars and yachts and stuff. If I remember, like they cracked down on that aspect of it, that blatantly, but you can still buy food. I'm sure there's workaround. I'm sure there's whatever legal workaround they can do, they're doing. All right. I don't have all, I don't have like, let's say insider information, but this is just common sense. You have a business meeting, you wine and dine someone to try to get their business. That's what pharmaceutical companies do to doctors. It's a sham. It's really fucking bad. So thank you everyone for joining me for episode 623. Here's what I want. Those of you that are interested in more episodes like this, do you like these kind of fact study episodes? Do you like this kind of I would say expose on the Daily Swole? If you like that, if you like this style of episode, if you like this kind of info, so if you liked it, drop some hearts. Drop the comments below, and we'll get some more out here for you. And I'll have my librarians send me more stuff to pass along. But yeah, thanks to Nick for passing along this study to me, and I really do enjoy dropping some true knowledge nukes. I mean, they're all true knowledge nukes, but you know what I mean. Getting the things that really will improve your lives. So if you link this, if you link this with things like the elimination diet, inflammatory foods, it makes a lot more sense. Think about what's causing your inflammation. Think about what's causing your inflammation. If your food is causing your inflammation and then you're taking ibuprofen for your inflammation, instead of taking a painkiller or an anti-inflammatory, let's get to the root of the problem so it doesn't happen to begin with. And a lot of it comes down to just your lifestyle habits and your food. It really does. So thank you, fam, for joining me. Episode 623 of the Daily Mother Swole, the most muscular Swolecast, Beercast, Broadcast, Pumpcast, and Mancast. In the realm, because when I flex, you flex. We beat our chest and we all flex our biceps. Thank you for listening on SoundCloud and iTunes. Make sure you check out the podcast there and every day live at 12 noon Eastern time right here on Instagram and Facebook at Swolenormous. You can also catch all the episodes on YouTube. So, peace, McGee's fam. Deuce Magoose, Papa Swolio. Out.